I want you to take a moment and try using Descartes' rule of signs. Again, I've chosen one of the assigned problems from the homework so that pausing the video to do this is giving you a jump start on the homework. I've just modified the directions just a little bit. Okay, so in your textbook, they give you this polynomial, f of x, and they just ask you to find the possible number of positive real zeros and the possible number of negative real zeros. I'm actually asking you to complete this table so that you're listing all the possible combinations. So not just I could have this many positives and negatives, but I could have this many positives with this many negatives with this many non-reals. And of course, in this case, each row will correspond to a possible combination of some positives, some negatives, and some non-reals. They should always add up to 6 because that's the degree of your polynomial. Okay. Notice I am not asking you then to find the zeros or to factor this polynomial. Do make sure you're very careful about reading the directions. Finding all the zeros and factoring a polynomial is a very time-consuming process. Okay. Now you will sometimes be asked to do that, but I won't ask you that every single time I give you a polynomial. In this case, I'm just asking you to complete this table. And that's very important because it's really frustrating if you spend a lot of time doing a problem that you weren't even asked to do, and on a timed exam that can be a very costly mistake. So here I'm just asking you to complete this table. Go ahead, pause the video, then tune back in. So I'm going to use Descartes' rule of signs here. I've already got f of x here, and it is written in descending order. So my first term here, that's positive. Then my next term is negative. My next term is positive. And then I've got a group of terms, all of which are negative. Okay, so if I look at sign changes, we've got one there, there, and there. So that's 3 sign changes. So I could have either 3 positive real zeros, or I could be less than that by a multiple of 2. So I could have just 1. That's a possibility. Can't have less than that, though, because I'd have to go down by 2, and I've got to have numbers that are bigger than or equal to 0. So I either have 3 or 1 positive real zeros. Now let's take a look at f of negative x. And the shortcut here is, I mentioned this last time, any even powers are going to retain the sign that they had. Any odd powers are going to change sign. So we'll still have x to the 6th minus 2x to the 4th. Those signs don't change because those were even powers. But now this is an odd power, so that's going to become negative 4x cubed. This is even, so it stays negative, negative 2x squared. X, that's an odd power, so that term would change sign, and then the constant never changes sign. Okay, so let's take a look. This was positive. Oops. Then we've got a group of negatives. The next 3 terms are all negative. Then we've got a positive, and then we've got a negative. So, looking at sign changes, looks like there are 3 of them. So we could have 3 or 1 negative zeros. Okay. So I need to be careful here. I'm going to actually bump this 1 down a little bit lower, because if I have 3 positive zeros, I could also have 3 negative zeros. Remember, the total has to be 6. That doesn't go above that total. That would just mean I don't have any non-zero. But I could have 3 positive reals and only have 1 negative real. Then that gives me 4. I'd need 2 more to make that total 6. And you'll notice we have an even number in this non-real column. I know I have to because they come in conjugate pairs. Then I could have 1 positive real. I'm going to write that twice, though, because that could go with either of the possibilities for the negative zeros. So I could have 1 positive and 3 negative. That gives me a total of 4. So I'd have to have 2 non-real to get the total up to 6. I could have 1 positive, 1 negative. That only gives me 2. So then I'd have to have 4 non-real zeros to make that total 6. Not necessary to write in the total column, but I find it useful as a reminder that these always have to add up to 6. So quick check, every row does add up to 6, and in the non-real column, I've only got even numbers. 0 does count as an even number. All right,